If you've been a visitor to my channel for a long time, or if you search through my archives of videos on my channel, you know I've made a lot of videos on film cameras, mostly Canon film cameras. I think the EOS film camera lineup is one of the most underappreciated and well-priced used film cameras on the market. So I made a lot of videos about them. I used them a lot. I also made videos on the Nikon F3 and F4, why I love those cameras, and those are some of my favorite film cameras, or favorite cameras of all time, film or digital. So I made a lot of film-related videos, and at one point, a lot of people that came to the channel came because of those videos, the film camera videos, or film videos, in film photography videos in general. And last year, going into 2021, my goal was to shoot at least one roll of black and white film every week, at least. And, you know, I was going strong for a while and even shooting multiple rolls a week, developing them at home and printing the best ones in my darkroom. And that was my goal, to do that. And at some point, turn all those photos into a few photo projects. Eventually, one of them being a photo book or 2 photo books. So that was my goal, was to dive really deep into film photography last year, and even more than what I had been before, more purposefully, having goals of how much I wanted to shoot and what. But I had all these goals for what I wanted to do with my film photography last year, and I was off to a good start. But at some point, I started to notice the availability of some of the films I wanted to shoot with, some of the darkroom supplies I wanted to use. I noticed the availability of them dropping and they being more difficult to get, along with the fact that prices were continuing to go up on all these items. Now, it may seem like they're going up gradually most of the time, only a little bit a year, but the prices of all the elements of my black and white film photography workflow were going up, from the film itself to the chemicals to develop to the darkroom supplies. Every element was increasing and becoming a little harder to find. So it wasn't conducive to being consistent with it. Even if I bulk loaded or bought a whole bunch of film up front, there was still darkroom paper that I would run into a bottleneck, or darkroom chemicals that I wouldn't be able to get, or there was some sort of obstacle to be able to do it consistently. And so it became a little frustrating. The increasing prices had played a part of that. They weren't the only thing, but and availability wasn't the only thing, but it's all these things that started to add up that got me thinking about why I was shooting film and the goals that I wanted to achieve with my photography. And was film helping me get there, or was it holding me back, or did I need film to get to my goals? And when I really analyzed what I shot, how I shot it, and where I wanted to go with my photography, and also researching high quality printing options, I decided at some point late last year that I wanted to transition from my film photography digital hybrid workflow to an all digital photography workflow, and for the time being at least, let go of shooting film, and obviously also let go of doing darkroom prints. So I don't want to do any sort of like, I'm never going to shoot film again, or never do this again, or never do that again. I'm trying to avoid those definitive statements. And a lot of those statements are the clickbait type stuff that get people to watch these videos. But I just want to explain a little bit, because I feel like a lot of people out there may be going through the same thing, where it's great to shoot film. It's so fun to shoot film and to have the negative in your hand, and to have these collection of negatives that you build over time, and be able to have the physical copy of the image itself, and to be able to make prints from them. The whole process is fun. You know, shooting film slows you down. The look of 35 millimeter film is awesome. We all, most of us really, really love it. We really enjoy it. We chase that look, whether it's black and white or color. So I think a lot of us, people that are watching this channel, people that make YouTube videos, we can all relate to the love of film. We all agree on that. So a lot of us, we want to shoot film. We want to be a part of that. But everyone has to decide for themselves what price is too high, or what obstacles are too many for you. And will shooting another format, will shooting digital serve you just as well, and will you be able to get the results you want just in a different way? This is one of those subjects where I know there's a lot of people that will be turned off just by talking about a switch like this. But this is reality for a lot of people. A lot of people out there can't justify $10 to $20 for a roll of Portra. I'm even seeing Ilford HP5 from $7 to $9 a roll, depending on where you buy it. There are still some cheap options. You can still get Kent Mirror black and white for $5 or $6 and things like that. But all of it is going up slowly but surely. And we all have to ask ourselves, what would be the price that would be our breaking point, the price that we wouldn't be able to pay for a roll of film, the price that we wouldn't be able to pay for processing if you don't process at home. I think everyone has to figure out their own stopping point or limit. And I just decided to not wait for that point. I decided that I'm going to prioritize the projects and the goals that I have for my photography. And if that means shooting film, if shooting film is conducive to getting there, great. If shooting digital and shooting with my Fujifilm cameras and printing on my Epson printer is more conducive to getting there, then that's the way I'm going to go. And long story short, that's the conclusion I came up with. I invested in my Epson photo printer. I've invested in my Fujifilm set of gear with my cameras and lenses, and even my adapted lenses and third-party lenses. And I'm producing the images that I want to produce. I'm producing the images that I would have loved to produce on film anyways on my digital camera. And because of my photo printer, I'm printing out prints that are that can rival darkroom prints in many ways. And most importantly, they can rival, if not surpass, darkroom prints in archival quality. So I know there was an article late last year, early this year, about defending the current prices of film, saying that the current prices of film is actually not that high when compared to what they were in the early 80s if you adjust for inflation. And I haven't done the deep research on inflation and how the prices compare to the early 80s when you take inflation into account. My gut says it is more expensive now, not just because of the price per roll, but because of all the other aspects of processing and things like that. I could be wrong. Regardless, I got back into film in 2014 or so, and for many of my films, the prices have nearly doubled, if not more than doubled, than what they were around that time. And that goes for a lot of the other elements in the workflow. So the enticing part back then was this was a cheap and good high quality format to jump into. You could get a $20 Canon Rebel film camera and then get 10 rolls of T-Max or Tri-X and be off and running really, really cheap. That's not quite the case anymore. So everyone, like I said, everyone just has to figure out when, if ever, is there too much. So for some people, it will be an endless thing. They'll be able to justify the prices as they increase, and that's great. But I know a lot of people out there won't be able to. And I know, I remember being, early in high school or college years and not being able to afford hardly any equipment. And I think that for some people out there, it's it's worth considering a Fujifilm X-E1 or X-E2 or X-T10 and a TT Artisan lens, as opposed to, you know, getting a film camera and then, you know, 10 to 20 rolls of film, which, you know, the prices of those two sets would be comparable. For a while, a lot of people talked about film being cheaper because they would often compare a $3,000 digital camera setup to a $200 film camera and a whole bunch of rolls of film. And if you make that comparison, then there's an argument for film in terms of price. But up to a point, I mean, if you say that the average roll of film is $10 a roll, even if you say the average roll of film is $8 a roll, and you're serious about shooting all the time, then it won't take you long to accrue that price. But that's against a $3,000 camera even. I mean, I think one of my points is that there are so many great used digital cameras out there. And in my mind, the Fujifilm ones are ones to consider if you want that filmic vibe. That I think for a lot of photographers who don't have a lot of money to spend on film and processing, I think that you know, consider the Fujifilm cameras or other digital cameras that of brands that you choose. But for me, the Fujifilm cameras are the ones I like. But my whole point with this video is to talk a little bit about you know, how I essentially reached that point where I decided to pause my film photography for the foreseeable future. Like I said, I'll never say never. At least pause my 35mm film photography. Maybe at some point I'll jump into medium format or large format as on occasion. But these cameras like this and my Epson photo printer, along with the papers I'm choosing, have given me everything I need to produce what I want to produce, regardless of format. And I think for a lot of people out there that they could choose a similar route, and you could choose a Fujifilm camera, a cheap lens, affordable lens, and even use a photo service. So the money you would be spending on photo processing could go to printing a couple photos or making a photo book or investing in another lens and whatnot. I think the film photography community is really, really great, but sometimes we can all get very tribalistic about the format or the brand we shoot. And film photography, the community groups together, and I like the idea of getting back to, we're all photographers. We all just may choose different formats. Some of us may choose film, some of us may choose digital, but we're all shooting photography. It should just come down to style preferences and what you shoot and how you shoot, and the tactics and strategies and the creative choices on how to get there. I think we just get too drawn together or too protective of the format or brand that we shoot, and I don't think that's it's not something that I want to contribute to consciously. I talk a lot about Fujifilm gear, but that's just what I like. I welcome anybody who shoots any other format or brand to this channel, and I hope that I make something on occasion that speaks to everybody. But I'll end this video with a question to you guys. If you still shoot film, do you have a price limit in mind? If your favorite film of choice reaches $15 a roll, is that too much? Is $25 a roll too much? At what point will you start considering other options? And the second question is, if you're purely film photography only, will you consider digital? Just interested to hear everyone's thoughts. If you have comments, keep them kind in the comments section. And that's it for now. A little bit of a rambling film and digital photography topic, but thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.